Welcome back. It's time to bring in our panel. With us here in studio this week, former communications director for the Indiana Democrats, Jennifer Wagner-Chartier, and former GOP lawmaker Mike Murphy. And with us on Zoom, Abdul Hakim Shabazz from IndyPolitics.org and Greg Weaver from our partners at the Indianapolis Business Journal. Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. We don't know where everything is headed in terms of the former president, but we are getting some sense of what was in that search warrant, and certainly the reaction to this has been very wide-ranging, from those firmly in the former president's corner to those who think this could have been a very serious offense.
Yeah, Dan, as someone who worked in the federal government, and I did work with top secret material, I find this to be very disturbing, that he may have had 11 boxes full of potentially top secret or SCI material in his home that he shouldn't have had, but also the fact that people are jumping to his defense without having all the facts. That may in fact be a theme on our show this week with Todd Rokita as well, but it's really disturbing. These are secret documents for a reason, and the former president should take this more seriously, and his defenders should wait and see what's actually in the warrant and what's actually in those boxes.
Mike, what's your reaction to this, and do you think some in your party will come to regret defending the president as firmly as they did, to the extent that they did earlier this week?
Well, I think people in the Republican Party, at least thinking people, have come to regret supporting President Trump ever since about 2016. But there are going to be diehards. I mean, remember, Trump said in 2016, he said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and people would still support me. And he is absolutely right. There is a core of Congress and other people around the country who would defend him to the death. During Watergate, Earl Landry from Indiana, famously said, "Don't confuse me with the facts." And I think we're having the same kind of thing again. The 11 boxes, some media reports, again, we don't know the facts yet, but some media reports are that at least one of those boxes contained top secret material. Then the question is, what did he do with that material? Did he copy it? Did he share it with other countries? If he did share it with other countries, that's espionage.
Todd Young saying Friday he was going to wait to see the search warrant before commenting on all this. Abdul, this is certainly very complicated legal terrain, to say the least, as we begin to learn more about what may have been in these documents.
Exactly. And for the critics of Merrick Garland and the Justice Department and the FBI, they need to just take a deep breath and calm down and relax for a couple seconds. Like Todd Young said, get all the facts. Because number one, to get a search warrant, there are certain things you have to do. You have to get a judge's permission. The folks who request a search warrant have to testify under oath what they're looking for. And the search warrant has to name the things to be found and the places to be seen and the places to be searched and seized. I mean, that's pretty much standard. And for people to say that the president should get special dispensation because he's a former president, no, the president is not above the law, regardless.
Let's change gears here and talk with Greg Weaver from the IBJ now about the abortion bill that passed and was signed into law by the governor. We saw the news this week from Lilly and also from Cummins here in recent days, but as some have pointed out, they waited until after the governor signed it to speak out this directly about the bill. And as some have also pointed out, these same companies have in the past donated to many of the lawmakers who passed this bill.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Lilly and Cummins both had done some political calculus to determine that it wasn't worth the risk to criticize legislative leadership while the abortion bill was being debated. But it was worth it to come out after the fact to send the message to their employees and also to their coastal investors that they don't like the direction that the state is headed in. And now that they've taken this action, if they're truly serious about it, they'll have to call upon the legislature to change the law when it convenes in January and also apply the same political litmus test to other states that it says it will apply to Indiana. And that could be both, costly and difficult, because up to 25 to 30 other states might pass tougher abortion restrictions, and those states likely are the ones where it's the least costly to do business.
Okay, we'll see how that plays out. Jennifer, what's your reaction to the backlash we're seeing here after the governor signed Senate Bill 1 into law?
I'm actually not sure we've seen the backlash yet. I think the backlash is right under the surface. I say that because in talking just with female friends who've never been involved in politics before, they are furious and they are looking to organize. They are looking to take action, and hell hath no fury like a woman whose health care is in danger. I don't think we've seen the tip of the iceberg yet.
And Mike, it doesn't seem to be quite at the same scale as Greg pointed out last week of what we saw during RFRA when lawmakers went back and changed the law that they had passed after the fact. This sort of business backlash, if we can call it that at this point, hasn't really reached that same fever pitch.
No, it hasn't. And my question would be, how many times is Dave Ricks going to threaten the people of Indiana? I mean, it seems to happen every few months now. And, the last time he could actually change the face of the Indiana legislature if he allowed his employees to run for the General Assembly and funded their campaigns. The last person to serve in the General Assembly from Eli Lilly said many times that serving in the General Assembly was a career killer for him at Lilly. Once he started to serve, no more opportunities. So Lilly has some soul searching to do themselves.
Abdul, another interesting item this week related to abortion, this op-ed in the Wall Street Journal co-authored by former Congresswoman Susan Brooks, sharply critical of her former House colleague Todd Rokita, whose words and actions toward a local abortion doctor that she said smacked of McCarthyism.
Yes, I read the editorial this week. It was in the Wall Street Journal, her and the judge. And Susan and the judge were absolutely correct. Prosecutors aren't supposed to make extraordinary statements that be considered prejudicial to the administration of justice. And Todd Rokita has done that by going after the doctor, saying she's an abortionist, posing as a doctor with no evidence, no proof of any of his allegations.
We also want to talk about some other news from D.C. here. Greg, in these very divided times, it's rare to see anything get bipartisan support in Congress, but we did see that this past week with this CHIPS bill that Senator Young had been involved in. This is something the governor had really been pushing for as well because of the economic impact that it could have here in Indiana.
Yeah, Senator Young's involvement was obviously crucial to the bill's passage, but also it was critical in giving Indiana economic development officials a heads up that this bill might actually come to fruition. And because of that, they've been able to lay the groundwork to take full advantage of it. And, we have a huge project that's been proposed by a semiconductor manufacturer in West Lafayette that is dependent on this funding. And I think it puts the state in a great position to secure that funding.
Okay, Greg, thank you so much. Our thanks to the panel. They'll be back here momentarily for this week's winners and losers. Coming up next, we're talking about another bill the president signed into law that comedian Jon Stewart has fought for in recent weeks. We'll hear from him coming up after the break.